Welcome to BizStation, where we discuss business in every video. Have you ever walked into a new job and it just felt like a completely different planet? One place is this maze of rules and strict hierarchies, while another feels like a super flexible, almost chaotic, creative jam session. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not random. Today, we are going to dive deep into the powerful, often invisible forces that build your workplace from the ground up. We're going to figure out exactly why your office is the way it is. And the answer, well, it might just surprise you. Turns out, it has less to do with the CEO's personality and almost everything to do with the world humming along right outside the front door. So, this is the big question we're tackling today. Why is it that some companies operate like these rigid, predictable machines, while others feel more like a living, breathing, and maybe sometimes chaotic organism? Is it just the company culture? I mean, that's part of it for sure. But the real driver, the thing that's truly pulling the strings, is so much bigger. The secret lies in understanding that a company's structure isn't just a random choice. It's a tool for survival, and it's custom designed for the specific environment it's trying to survive in.
All right, so here's our game plan for how we're going to crack this code together. First up, we'll explore the two. That's right, two worlds that every single organization has to navigate. Then we'll use a really clever sports analogy, thinking in terms of tennis versus table tennis, to get a handle on what these worlds feel like. From there, we'll see how this naturally leads to two totally different kinds of companies, mechanistic and organic. We'll then add another fascinating layer with something called the uncertainty principle. And finally, we'll open up the playbook that smart organizations use to adapt, respond, and ultimately, win.
Okay, let's jump right in. The most fundamental idea we have to get our heads around is that no company is an island. Seriously, every single organization is what we call an open system. Now, that sounds technical, but all it means is that it's in a constant conversation with the world around it. It's always taking things in, like talent, info, and money, and it's always sending things out, like its products or services. So to really get what makes a company tick, you first have to understand the two big environmental layers it's constantly dealing with.
The first layer is what we call the task environment. Think of this as the company's immediate neighborhood, its daily arena. These are the players it's interacting with day in and day out. Let's take a bank, for example. We're talking about its customers and what they want. Its direct competitors, other big banks and all those scrappy little fintech startups. Its tech suppliers, and all the ways it reaches people, whether that's through a mobile app or an old-school ATM. This is the front line, the place where the action happens every single day.
Now let's pull the camera back and zoom way out to the second layer, the general environment. These are the bigger, broader forces that shape the entire industry, not just one company. Think about things like government regulations, the overall state of the economy, like interest rates and inflation, major political shifts, and of course, massive technological waves like AI and blockchain. It even includes things like society's general attitude towards risk. This isn't the neighborhood, this is the climate. It's the weather that every single company in that sector has to figure out how to navigate.
So how in the world do we make sense of all these different environments? Well, way back in the 1960s, two researchers, Tom Burns and G.M. Stalker, came up with this really fantastic analogy. They realized that different business environments felt like you were playing completely different games, each with its own speed, its own rules, its own feel. And they compared them to three sports: tennis, badminton, and table tennis. So first up, you have the stable environment, which they said is a lot like a game of tennis. Think about it. The court is a fixed size, the rules are set in stone, and you pretty much know who your opponent is going to be across the net. In the business world, this means customer demand is predictable, your competitors don't really change much, and technology evolves at a nice, slow, manageable pace. Industries like shipping or maybe manufacturing basic kitchen appliances fit this perfectly. The game is steady, and the winning strategies have been known for years. Okay, next, they described a changing environment as being more like badminton. The pace picks up, right? The shuttlecock moves differently than a tennis ball. It requires quicker reflexes. In this kind of business environment, demand might go up and down, but you can still kind of predict the pattern. You might see a few new competitors show up, and technology moves forward in a pretty steady, step-by-step way. Good examples might be the airline industry or TV manufacturing. The game is definitely faster, but it still has a rhythm you can learn and adapt to. And then you have the innovative environment, and this is pure table tennis. It's incredibly fast, played up close, and it demands lightning-fast, instinctive reflexes. The ball can spin in completely wild and unpredictable ways. In this business world, customer demand can vanish or appear overnight. Brand new competitors pop up out of absolutely nowhere, and technological change isn't just an evolution, it's a revolution. The smartphone industry is the absolute perfect example of this. One minute, a company is the king of the hill, the next, it's fighting just to stay in the game. Now here it is.
This is the crucial point of this whole discussion. You can't show up to a world championship table tennis match with a heavy wooden tennis racket and expect to win. It's just not going to happen. A company has to be built for the game it's actually playing. And this fundamental insight leads us to two completely opposite ways of designing an organization, what Burns and Stalker called mechanistic and organic structures. The way your office is structured, the way it feels, is a direct response to the kind of game it's forced to play every single day.
A mechanistic structure is built for that predictable game of tennis. It's like a finely tuned machine. Tasks are broken down into these very specific, separate parts. Everything is rigidly defined, and it's all controlled by a strict hierarchy with a lot of rules. Information and decisions flow from the top all the way down. It's super efficient, perfect for a stable world. But on the other side of the spectrum, you've got an organic structure. This is built for that chaotic game of table tennis. It's more like a living organism. Roles are fluid, teamwork is everything, there are very few rules, and knowledge isn't locked up at the top, it's everywhere. Communication zips around horizontally because, there's just no time to wait for 5 levels of approval when the ball is coming at you 100 miles an hour.
So where do you actually find these organic structures out in the wild? Well, they're all over the place in these fast-moving environments. Startups basically have to be this way to survive. They need that flexibility. Big tech companies like a Google or a Spotify, they use organic teams to drive innovation. Creative ad agencies rely on it because you can't just schedule a eureka moment for Tuesday at 2 p.m. And here's a really important point. Even inside a giant, rigid, mechanistic company, you'll find these little organic pockets, like in the research and development department, where creativity, speed, and collaboration are absolutely essential to discovering the next big thing. Okay, let's add one more powerful layer to this whole framework. A few years after Burns and Stalker did their thing, 2 more researchers, Paul Lawrence and Jay Lorsch, came along and refined these ideas. They did it by focusing on one key concept: uncertainty. They argued that the most important variable isn't just how fast things are changing, but how much reliable information you actually have, and how confidently you can predict what's going to happen next. And their conclusion was simple. The more uncertain your environment is, the more organic your structure needs to be. And they introduced 2 really critical ideas that help explain how this works in big companies: differentiation and integration. Now, differentiation is just this recognition that even within one company, different departments live in their own little worlds. Your R&D department, they live in a highly uncertain world of scientific discovery. The sales team, they're dealing with a super competitive market. And the manufacturing team, they just want stable, predictable efficiency. Each one needs its own structure to succeed. But that creates a new problem, right? How do you get all these different worlds to work together? Well, that's integration. That's the formal processes, the special roles, the weekly meetings, all the stuff you need to tie it all together and make sure everyone is still rowing in the same direction.
This gives us this incredibly powerful way to map out basically any industry. We can look at an environment on 2 different scales. First, is it simple, with just a few key things to worry about, or is it complex, with a ton of moving parts? And second, is it stable, changing slowly, or is it unstable, changing at lightning speed? So this creates 4 boxes. Down here in the simple and stable corner, you have low uncertainty. Think of an auditing firm. Over in simple but unstable, you've got high-moderate uncertainty, like the fashion or music industries where trends change on a dime. Then there's complex but stable, like a university. And finally, you have the real pressure cooker, industries like airlines or telecom, which are both complex and unstable. That is a world of extremely high uncertainty.
So if you can figure out where your organization sits on that map, what do you actually do about it? This isn't just some fun academic theory. It's a practical guide. This brings us to the playbook for adaptation. Knowing your level of uncertainty allows you to be intentional, to choose the right structure and the right strategies to not just survive in your environment, but to actually master it.
And this table basically provides the answer key for each of those 4 boxes we just looked at. In that simple, stable, low uncertainty world, a classic mechanistic structure with a slow, deliberate response works perfectly fine. But as you move over to that complex, unstable, high uncertainty world, you absolutely need an organic, team-based structure with tons of different kinds of specialized departments and a high-speed response capability. The big takeaway here is that a company's design is contingent on its environment. There is no single best way to organize for everyone.
And to make this all work in the real world, companies create specific kinds of roles. Some roles are for buffering. They act like shock absorbers for the company. Think about a customer service department. Its job is to handle all the unpredictable customer issues so that the core engineering and production teams can stay focused on their work. Other roles are for boundary spanning. These are like the company's antennas. Your market research team, for example, is designed to do one thing: gather information from the outside world, and bring it inside. And all of this has to be balanced by allowing that differentiation between departments while ensuring you have strong integration to keep everyone on the same team.
Let's make this super concrete with a real-world example. A big university is a perfect case study of a complex organization. Hacettepe University puts this entire playbook into action. To adapt to massive technological change, what did it do? It added a new AI engineering department. To buffer its academic core from day-to-day chaos, it has student affairs offices and academic advisors to handle student issues. For boundary spanning, it runs a career center and a tech park to connect directly with the business world. And to integrate all of its many different parts, it uses graduate institutions to coordinate education across different fields. It's a living, breathing example of a complex organization adapting its structure to fit its world.
So after all of this, we're left with a pretty big, thought-provoking question. If the business environment, the game we're all playing, is constantly shifting, and in many cases, it's speeding up from tennis to full-on table tennis, is any organizational chart, any structure truly permanent? Or are the best organizations, the ones that are going to be around for a long time, simply the ones that master the art of constantly adapting, of being forever in a state of becoming? It really makes you think about your own workplace, doesn't it? Is it built for tennis, or is it built for table tennis? And more importantly, is that the right game for the future? Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notifications to not miss new videos.